Welcome to Divine Dose, a life beyond your drunken dreams, life on purpose and empowered, a spiritually intoxicating space where we let spirit led people who want more in to live a hot, holy, and whole life. Today's guest is a mega mama, a powerhouse salon owner, a business professional, and a radiant leader in the sober curious movement. From sparkles to luscious hair, Lauren Welch is the kind of woman who brings the realness, the glam, the grounded truth, whether she's behind the chair, in front of the mic, or showing up as a fiercely loving mama. She's here today to divine dose us with a message to rock your socks off and crack us open. Lo, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And it's so sweet. That was so kind. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. A little backstory. Lauren and we met in October of 2024 in Miami at $100,000 a month mastermind. On,
Yes.
yes, like we were on a yacht. We were in this beautiful Fora Fana forum. It was beautiful, like stained glass windows, like customized couches, like everything, like little Easter eggs everywhere. And we just dialed in and dropped into a whole different dimension of thinking about our impact business, our lives in a new way. And we've been connected ever since. So I'm so glad that we get to share this magic with you guys today. And let's drop in. Lauren, I want you every episode I say, like, if you were to wave your magic wand and boop us over the head and give us a downloaded information of like something that we could just compress decades into days and you could just have it in this instant, what is the listener going to get today, right now?
So my magic wand would have to say, listening to our intuition and just trusting your gut is probably one of like the things I'm trying to lead with. And when it comes to like sober curiosity, if you have that little inkling, even, the tiny voice in the back of your head or that gut feeling where you just feel like drinking is not serving you anymore, just listening to it and exploring it, because making one decision can change your entire life. So just really tapping into like your intuition and trusting your gut and yourself is so huge.
Intuition. This is the second time on this podcast that intuition has been talked about, and it is talked about because it is so important. That's what I call like the source center itself. So thank you for bringing that in. Everyone, you've just been dosed, and we have
Yes.
fun.
So good.
All right, so I want to know, like, what is sober curious, and what is the movement you are making with this?
So sober curious has been such a big buzzword, especially within the last couple years, which for me, I think has different meanings for everyone. For me, it's really just taking the stigma and the shame away from the word sober, which I don't associate it with that, but I feel like previously it kind of had been a shameful thing. And it's really just exploring what your life could look like, removing alcohol from it and stepping into like your most abundant and fullest life that you can live. So I think that the movement is just about empowerment and really uncovering what we were put on this earth to do and removing, just like I call it, like the cloudy veil of the haze of alcohol. It's just so, I don't know, it's like it changes your soul, I feel like.
I love that. I love that because yeah, there is still stigma, and there was stigma around sobriety, and that was like such a triggering word, over almost like 50 years ago. If that word, like, people needed to keep an anonymous, almost hidden thing about
Yeah.
it because businesses are afraid that they would be fired, or there was just so much at stake. And
Mhm.
luckily now we're coming into a society where even general media, where like literally, and just like that, like the new Sex in the City is including getting sober, and even Adam Sandler's
Yes.
Happy Gilmore, like he's like literally the epitome of like always having like obsessive drinking
Yes.
in all of his films, and he's getting sober in like his new role, which was so cool to see. And would you say, because sometimes some of the listeners, don't consider themselves sober or sober curious, but that they consider themselves like alcohol free, or something like that. Is that part of the sober curious?
Yes, I think that's part of it too. Is like it's not like a one size fits all. So alcohol free, I don't partake in like marijuana, but I know that medical marijuana is really huge and it helps a ton of people get off of these like hardcore narcotic drugs and stuff like that. So I think just an alcohol free blanket is such a great way to again not stigmatize it and just make people feel more like included in the movement too. More about just like mental health, wellness, taking care of yourself, and just living to the fullest that you can.
I love this. So what does it mean to you in your life to be sober curious beyond not drinking?
So I really didn't realize what alcohol was actually doing to me because I was on the hamster wheel of even if I wasn't drinking excessively every day, I would maybe have a glass of wine or, a seltzer. Um, I just feel like it's really brought I don't know, the most abundance that beyond I could even imagine in my life just from going down that route. And it's really just unlocked all these different avenues, and whether it's personal, professional with my family, but just like relationships, everything improved once I started to like really embrace it and tap into like the things that I was thinking about it. And, what was I meant for? Is this serving me? And it really just unlocked, honestly, like an entirely new life, which is crazy to even think about.
And unlocked an entirely new life. Everyone hear that. Like that means that there's something beyond, right? Oftentimes, I think a
Hmm.
lot of people who are curious about this movement, because I was curious, but for a while until I got like I call it sober serious. Like I was sober
Yes.
serious and I got sober serious, but like
Yeah.
and really like I was so afraid of what I didn't know. Like how could I
Yes.
know what my life looked like without it if I hadn't had a life without it,
Right.
And affirming us that it's like, ooh, actually there's something beautiful in the mystery. There's something beautiful in the unknown, and that it does actually get to be new, it gets to be different, it gets to be big and beautiful. So I love that. And was there like a turning point or story that made you question your relationship with alcohol and question your relationship with the way that you were living?
Yeah, I mean, I probably started drinking as like a teenager in high school, just socially. But even back then, like I kind of felt like I drank differently than like some of my friends did. Like I was almost like, all or nothing. Like if I was going to do it, I was going to go really hard with it. So I think even when I first started like my relationship with alcohol, I kind of knew like, I don't know, I was just different with it, but not in a good way. But I was able to always maintain a job, a
Mm,
marriage. I wasn't the quote unquote where your entire world falls apart, which I'm so grateful that that wasn't what happened to me.
mm,
However, I would always justify the amount that I was drinking because I still woke up at 6 in the morning and went to the gym and took care of my kids and showed up for work. But on the inside, I was crumbling. And it started to happen more and more, I think, with a lot of people when COVID happened and the pandemic. I had a 3-year-old son and a baby at the time, and I'm a hairstylist by trade. And, all of my normalcy went away. I couldn't work. And that's when I call it like the never ending hurricane party. I'm from Florida. So, everyone's just waking up at like 10 a.m., like, oh, I'm just going to have a mimosa or whatever. So I think that's when it really kind of started to like, really start to affect me more. And then my brother-in-law unfortunately passed away really unexpectedly in January of 2022. And that was when I really started to like lean on it as more of a coping mechanism. And it just basically started to go downhill from there. And it didn't allow me to have fun anymore. Like back when I would be like, oh, it's fun and you're going out, I was using it to like not feel feelings. And that's when it really started to get worse.
mm. And thank you for sharing that. And I felt it's like, oh, my heart, those moments of breakdown actually get to be the moments of breakthrough.
Totally.
And when we decide, when there's a new decision that's made, and our like, I love what Tony Robbins says, like our destiny is shaped in moments of decision. And so your whole life literally changed in a moment of reckoning, of awakening, of saying, oh my gosh, I want to make a new choice in my life. And that's with anything in our lives, whether we're on like the sober, curious mission or from business to relationships, everything is shaped in those moments of decision. And I
Yeah.
love that you pointed out that people don't always have to get so low. I was I was like the textbook, almost textbook, like alcoholic, like just really like when I was using other substances as well. Like I was just absolutely unhinged and I was at that really scary place. But a lot of people think like, well, at least I'm not living under a bridge. I'm not drinking out of a brown bag. I'm not
Right.
doing these things.
Right. It's you play this like mental gymnastics with yourself, and it's like, whatever is quote unquote normal to you. I when I was drinking heavily, I hung out with other women who were heavy drinkers, and that's just what we did. So in my mind, it was normal, but the way I felt inside wasn't. And I think I still continued to drink for about a year after my brother-in-law died. And then I had this like really explosive, freak out moment at a family wedding. I was at a black tie wedding and I was not wanting to see a certain guest who wasn't invited. So I had all this anxiety and I'm like, liquid courage the whole time. And I just had a flip out on her on the dance floor. And I just really was so mortified and like embarrassed myself. And the next morning when I woke up, I had like the worst anxiety and I was like, oh my gosh, like what did I do? And I don't know why or what resonated, but I think it was God, universe, divine, whatever you want to call it. But I literally was like crying on my hands and knees in my living room. And I heard this voice, and it's like, you are ruining your entire life. Like, what are you doing? You're doing this to yourself. And for whatever reason, it clicked. And that was almost 2.5 years ago. So that was probably my like, aha, I really connected with it moment.
And one of my, yeah, it's like the burning bush moment where all of a sudden there's
Mhm.
just this great awakening. It's like what worked is no longer working. I also had
Yes.
similar to you, and this is not everybody's story, but similar to you, Lauren, is like I had been living the way I've been living. I drank every day. I drank from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. It was my main priority. I would do anything to get it. I would get rid of any relationship. Like I would choose it. It was my best friend. It was everything to me. And I
Mhm.
literally went from that to having this spiritual experience where it was like the cloud. I was laying in my room, like having had been vomiting because I was trying to take
Aw.
naltrexone to try not to drink. It was just a mess. And I'm laying out there listening to like people speaking through my computer because I'm on like this summit and people are talking about God and like awakening and your purpose and it's only you that can bring this into the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, like and I had this awakening, like the clouds parted, like light came down and I heard a voice that said like, oh my gosh, go here, stay sober. It's like, okay, like, oh, I'm gonna do that. Like, so,
Yeah.
and I've been sober ever since. So it's like these moments, it's like when we're open to them, they truly miracles happen all the time. And it just like how you don't have to measure how bad it is yet. Like
Yes.
we don't have to wait until you lose the house, lose the family, lose whatever. We don't have to wait for that, right? It's the same
Right.
as like I don't have to wait for that burning bush moment to come either
Yes.
to say, wait, actually, I can do something different about this. And it may be challenging or it may be unknown and unfamiliar. And so it sounds like you had, yeah, this moment where it shifted your life and you decided to meet it.
It did. Yeah. And I think I was just so over myself and, my own shit. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when push came to shove, it was because of what I was doing. And I'm just so happy that like I listened and I just followed again my intuition and what I felt it like to my core was right, the right choice.
Mm. Oh my gosh. And how that's how your life was. What is it like now that you've said yes to this new life, this sober curious movement, momentum woman? What is it like now?
It's just really honestly so beautiful. Not to sound cheesy, it's just beyond anything that I think I could have imagined possible. I was already in a really great relationship with my husband, and alcohol, surprise, surprise, was one of the biggest triggers with like a lot of our arguments and fighting. So having that removed, like honestly, every relationship in my life has gotten astronomically better and has improved, whether it's like a personal relationship with my friends, business. I just feel like who I'm truly meant to be and like my most authentic self. And I feel like I just show up as me and I don't need, I don't know, like the wine to make me feel confident. It was actually doing the opposite. So everything just got so much better. It continues to.
Mm-hmm. And as a big conversation that I'm having with people right now is moving from like fine into fulfillment. And this
Totally.
is something that I see that you're doing too. And we'll talk more about this in a little bit. But like Laura, Lauren and I met at this mastermind of like saying, okay, we're opening up to $100,000 a month. That's six figures in a month, which is way more than, 90% of America makes in a year, to be able to step into this room and stage and say, I have a dream, I have a vision for myself. I don't know what it's going to be, but all I know is that I, I, I want to grow, I want to expand. And something that I see for a lot of people who are in the sober cures or who are in recovery, sometimes they just remove that substance, but then are kind of like in a settling or kind of like, oh, I'm fine in this whatever I'm
Yeah.
in, and it's because it's that another point of courage that it takes to say, oh, I'm actually going to show up in this room of people. Like it was honestly, I was almost like no, it was 4 years. I was 4 years sober in October, and I was nervous showing up for that event because I'm thinking to myself, they're talking about champagne hour and this and that, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the only sober one there, and
Yeah.
so like, how is it even showing up to that event?
So I didn't know anybody like at all. I had followed Jamie, who was the host for a really long time, and I actually met people on the internet, which was so crazy. But I went to it by myself, which is like out of character for me. And same, I had been sober for not even 2 years yet, so almost 2 years. And it was intimidating, but the one thing that was super interesting to me, a lot of the people who attended did not drink. And not that they were in like recovery or, they just were non-drinkers, which I felt was so cool to see. And it wasn't like the focal point of any of the workshops or events, which I really loved too. So I felt super comfortable, and then like getting to connect with you and like Leanna and other women who were sober too was so fun.
And I wanted to share this because I just found that like such a cool, this is where that divine thread comes in. Whatever you believe in, God, source, give it the name that you want, universe. It's like there's something that happens when we step into this and say, all right, I'm making this decision. And then I start to say maybe no to old people, places, and things. And I start to say yes to new people, places, and things. And when I move off the fence of fine into the fulfillment, which I call like the edge, I move from the edge into the aliveness. It's like, oh wait, the net will appear, the people will appear, the miracles will appear, the synchronicities will appear. And I'm like getting goosebumps talking about this
Me
right now because
too. That's so
like
funny.
my human brain was like, oh my gosh, I'm making this whole story up, like I'm gonna be alone, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna feel pressure. And I'm like, I've been in this for 4 years, I know, I'm backed, I'm gotten, I'll leave, I already have my tools, I have my mechanisms of what to do, and then what happened, like the universe, God, I like to say God,
Yeah.
it came in and had a better plan than me. And so it's like, so now let's like speak to that person, right? Who's maybe still on that fence about like what will my life look like? Like, maybe they're not at that decision point yet. They're scared about that being alone or not finding their people or having to make some changes. And what do you say to those people who are still on that fence?
I think it's just leaning into, again, your gut and your intuition and being brave. Like everyone who I've met who's made the choice to address their drinking, whether they're fully sober, sober curious, whatever substance or thing that they're dealing with, being brave and just doing it is so huge. And that's what all of us have in common. And it's just so empowering. And you might have some relationships that fizzle out, which for me, it kind of just naturally happened and it wasn't ill will or any like, massive blow up. But it really just does put you on the path that you're supposed to be on and aligning with the people who just want to like lift you up. And you have a real community, which is just so different than like the surface level, bar hopping, drunken half conversations. You're really connecting with people. And I think it's just going for it and like just trusting that you're going to be okay and that God, universe, divine is going to catch you. Just believe.
Oh, I love that. I want to know if you want to share with us, like, what is your spiritual belief if you have one?
So I'm a holiday Jew, I like to tell people. So
I
I
was
was
tell
raised,
me, I want to know.
I know. So my mom's side of the family is Jewish and my dad's side is Methodist. And I was the bad kid that dropped out of Hebrew school. My brother full on, went and had like the bar mitzvah and everything, which I wish I would have finished it now looking back. But I definitely believe in God. I'm more of like a spiritual person and just tapping into like my higher power. But once I did, regain more of a relationship with God, I feel like everything kind of like made sense. And I was just blocking out like the signs, what he was trying to tell me for such a long time. And I think that's what was keeping me stuck in like my repetitive cycle also. So once like the day in my living room after the wedding, I literally fell to my knees and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And that's when I heard God and he's like, what are you doing? You're doing this. You're better than this. So I just feel like it just made my whole spiritual relationship so much better.
I love bringing that up because we're all from different walks of life, and I like to pinpoint that. I think sometimes people get afraid of that element. That's not it's not necessarily required for everyone in their sober curious or sober journey, but that for
Right.
me it definitely is, and has been a big proponent. And it sounds like for you too, there was this moment of awakening, that is bigger than anything I could explain that came from me.
Totally.
And so it's really great to see that it can be anything that we believe in. I was very, and I still am, I'm very big into like yoga and meditation, and I love going to different countries, and I love immersing myself in different religious practices. I've been very curious about it since I was a kid. I used to like drive kids who didn't have cars like to their church or to their mosque or to
Aw.
their, and I would go sit with them, and I just would love to find the universal truths in it all and to be able to see that, oh, it's all about love, or it's love, or it's connection, or it's like the principles of it, really, not the rightness or the pride that sometimes follows it, but like, oh wow, there's something to learn in it all. And so I grew up, yeah, like Methodist, like in church, and then I'm just like, I am who I am, but I believe in this all expansing, growing, um universal God. Yes, so to welcome people in and say, yeah, you could be a, what would you call it, like
A holiday
a
Jew.
holiday too, like, yeah, let's like bring that to the table, like whatever it might be. So I love finding out what people's beliefs and their practices are, and to really show people like, oh my gosh, you can be from whatever background or whatever history, holiday Jew, like, yeah, like come to the table and sit with us, right? And then how we get to then walk together. And so what would you say are some tools that you would send to anyone who's newly in this experience, who's on the fence, who's been in it for a while? What are some tools that you find are helping you and that could help them as a stepping stone?
I think some of the biggest things are just discovering your why. So, why are
Mhm.
you at the point where you're at right now? Why are you feeling what you're feeling? Typically, it's not the moment. Like, it wasn't the wedding for me. That was just like the catalyst that sparked all of it. But for me, it was just like deep diving into like, what am I trying to not think about or deal with within myself that I'm using alcohol to escape from and numb it? So, I think just finding out your why would be like the first. And then really just like being open to the full journey, I think is the second part, and not judging ourselves. I think removing judgment from whatever brought you to the point that you're at is so huge because we're human and none of us are perfect. And just really giving yourself grace and trying to just go with the flow. And I think connecting with other people with what you're trying to learn about and do is also huge. Before I even decided to take a break from drinking, I had started to follow all of these like sober curious accounts on social media. And I think just finding people who are like relatable, and it's like, hey, everyone goes through stuff and I'm not, a terrible person, or I didn't, woe is me. It's just finding it like a community basically is huge.
Mhm. Community is so important because I mean, what I've been taught anyway is like, I cannot do this alone. Like I have to do it
No.
with community, with help, with the divine source connection. Like I've got to have people who have been through what I'm gonna go through to help show me the way, to be like, oh, there's pitfall there, here's what you can do. And also it's like we become the five most people that we're hanging out around. Okay, so if I'm hanging around the same
Totally.
people, I've got to like make some shifts and changes and with community backed. And so yeah, like being on this conversation right now, like what Lauren's saying, be in the conversation, follow the people, follow me, follow Lauren, like get in the rooms, get in the spaces that are going to hold you to that new standard, that are going to hold you into a new vibration until
Yeah.
love you until you can love yourself, like hold you in that space until you can live from that space as a way of trusting your new life and being like, okay, hold the vision with me,
Yes, that's the best way to put it is hold the vision with me. And I feel like I've been so lucky to have so many great just like examples and mentors in my life. And there's times when like I haven't believed in myself or thought that things were even possible, but they held it for me. So I think just finding the people to hold it for you because it is possible. We're living proof of it. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And what would you say to like, because some people are just considering themselves like alcohol free, right? Are they welcome in the sober curious movement?
They're definitely welcome in mine. I think anyone who is living whatever alcohol free means to you, I think it's not a one size fits all. And I do feel like there's so much greatness that comes from community too. So I have friends who like still socially drink. I don't know. Everyone has a different comfort level with what they're comfortable with also. That doesn't bother me per se, but yeah, alcohol free, whatever you want to call it. I think the more the merrier. Anyone to help promote your mental health, well being, and like living your most abundant life, like come on over, come sit with us.
Yes, because and what I like to say too is like even though I say like I'm sober serious, like meaning like I'm like serious like
Yes,
addict and alcoholic, but like what that means though is that I have like these skills and tools and abilities to walk through something that is seemingly impossible, like to having been gone to someone who couldn't go a day without drugs or alcohol, to now doing that. It's like I've been able to walk through some challenging things. I had codependent relationships with certain substances, found out that I was a recovering people pleaser. And so as we
hmm
start to remove some of these things out of our life, whether it's alcohol free or substance free, or we start to look at, oh wow, it's like an onion, right? There's these other emotions going on. And even people who walk into this conversation and they're recovering, maybe not from the substance, but they're recovering from the people pleasing, just like
yes,
abandoning themselves. Yeah.
I know. It's huge.
It's huge. Yes. So you're welcome. Here is what I hear you saying. And what's one thing you had to unlearn to truly own your leadership and voice? And might remember, like Lauren is a business owner. She's a hair, so like look at her hair, like it's gorgeous. If you can't see
I
it, it's
know.
like wavy mermaid hair, like straight out of like Venus,
You're
Aphrodite.
so
Like
sweet.
it's gorgeous. So she's a business owner. So what's one thing you had to unlearn to truly own your leadership and voice?
I think it was stop waiting for other people's approval.
Mm.
I was always one because I started in the hair industry when I was 19 years old. So I was like a kid back then and I was green and didn't know anything. And I think I was just always waiting for like someone to tell me that I was good enough to take the next step. And you don't need to do that. You don't need someone's approval. You need belief in yourself and just being rooted in like knowing, knowledge, learning, and just being open to like expanding. So I think just like removing other people's like gold star was probably one of the biggest like aha moments for me and like trusting that I know what I'm doing and that you're leading from your heart is huge too. Being like a heart-led business owner is huge. And I attribute that to a lot of my success too.
Mm, being a heart-led leader. Yes, and the permission slips, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's that almost relying on the external to validate, right? Which is interesting because there's like the polarity of like, oh, I actually do need community, but at the same time, there's got to be a point where I'm going to give myself the okay.
Yes.
Because no one, at the end of the day, like no one is going to be able to end up making those decisions for me no matter how much help I get. It's like it's the same thing with like real like I'm a real alcoholic, but like there were so many I had so many interventions from family members and friends and like coworkers. I had been let go of so many different jobs and people saying, you've got an issue, you've got an issue, you've got an issue, but it wasn't until like I had plenty permission slips from the external saying like, you got a problem.
Right. It's hard. I know. And I think too, especially as women, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of us are taught to be like, okay, well, you can go this high, but then you have to wait for like the invitation. And I just feel like just owning who you are and just believing in like your craft and like what we were really put here to do. And I think I was drawn to hair and beauty because I like to make people feel good. And I think a lot of what we do has nothing to do with their hair. Of course, you want a beautiful outcome, but it's like how we make people feel, I think is like part of what I love about it and why I've been in the industry for 20 years, which is crazy at this point.
Love that. And it's so true. Like I remember so one of my coaches, like Dean Graziosi, he has a wife and his wife, he always like to tell her story, and she's a hairstylist. And he was like, and he's in sales. Like Dean Graziosi is like Tony Robbins like sales guy. Like they bring Dean in to like sell Tony's offerings. And so Dean is just like naturally the sales guy, and he's like talking with his wife, and he's like, "Oh, you're such a good saleswoman." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Yeah, you are."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I'm not. I just do women's hair and that makes them feel good." And he's like, "Yeah, but you have the number one hair salon in Arizona, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Yeah, but that's just because I love what I do." And she's like, "No, it's because your love, your love for it is the selling of it. Like,
Yes.
it's like this passion for it." And I see that with you too.
Thank you. It's so true though. And it's so funny because, it's like any business where it's like the strategy and the coaching, which it is very helpful to get the fundamentals of that. But when you are just so lit up about something and you're so excited about it, it's like magnetic. And I feel like it does rub off on people and they're like, hey, I want to know like what they're doing and what they're so pumped up about. So it's so true.
Yeah, which perfectly leads into like the next question, which is like, how has getting and living sober influenced your business? So let's talk about business. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about
Yeah, it's
yes.
it's honestly like really crazy when I do think about it. Which again, I'm very thankful that I held it together enough through my partying and drinking that my business didn't flop. I showed up hungover for a decade when a lot of my clients probably didn't know it, but I tried to still bring my A game. But all joking aside, no, my business has skyrocketed, honestly, since I've removed alcohol. We have opened 2 salons in 2 years, which is super cool. Yeah, we opened a Japanese head spa for scalp facials, which has been incredible. And I have a team that works with me there that I lead, which is like honestly like a dream. When I really think about it, it's crazy that it's happened. And then my husband and I also own a hybrid salon. So we rent out suites to beauty professionals and then have a couple people that are commission hair underneath me. So yeah, it's just really, really blown up like since I've removed the alcohol and I've just been so focused and I don't have like that fog anymore. So I just feel like I'm so dialed into like what I want to do and like where we want to go. And it's honestly been amazing. So I'm just really, really, really grateful that I've been able to do it. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and then not to mention like you've expanded this company, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You now have not just one, but you have two. And not only that, now you're also creating another business where you're kind of leaning into your edge of aliveness because it's something that you haven't experienced yet. You don't really, so you're building the sober curious movement. You built your first course out. So it's like you're starting to launch into that too. It's like you're not settling, you're serving, you're leading. And I want other people to really see you as like that example of, wow, we remove these things in life can and gets to be good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. And I think too, like, it's really crazy, which I'm so thankful that I do hair and I have this really incredible, like, one on one connection with women, especially. And once I started publicly talking about not drinking after 30 days, the amount of women who felt comfortable and safe confiding in me what they were dealing with. That's what honestly kind of sparked the idea for the course because then I realized like, oh my gosh, this is actually like a really big issue. And doing it digitally and having access to more people than just in my chair was like, all right, people need to hear this message and know that they're not alone going through it.
I love that. Yeah, it's so fascinating, like how, sometimes we can limit ourselves. I know I have been in that experience where it's like, because I've been teaching around sacred sexuality and everything, and then I want to like pigeonhole myself and say like, oh no, I'm stuck in this, like I can't transition into it. Or people are like, it's not that I'm leaving that, it's that that gets to become an adaptation of who I'm now who this new version of me is wanting to represent as. And that's where it's like being a business owner, like you get to make these changes or these options, and we can do this in any profession, in any work. It's like I get to grow, I get to expand, and it doesn't mean that that other part of me is somehow no longer relevant. It's like, no, that feeds into like, oh, an opportunity to talk to someone in my chair, or these other people that have been following me who saw me in this one way, like for you is like in hair, but like are actually dealing with this other thing. It's like that's where we get to see those synchronicities that divine gets to weave for us. And I love hearing that. And I love seeing you on this journey and what we're going
Thank
to create
you.
together. And so now you're talking about building a community. What would you say to those nervous about jumping into this new community? Like you, who are like, me, we're showing up to that Miami event, you're in person,
Yeah.
people are going to be drinking, like, oh my gosh, it's new people. Like, what do you say to them that are maybe nervous about like starting to show up, starting to play full out, purchasing, the course, purchasing, starting to invest in themselves, who are like on the edge of like, I don't know, like, am I really, because I think I had like this terminal like uniqueness, like, and to me
Yes.
it comes up, of like I don't really belong, they don't understand me, in this kind of thing. So speaking to that.
I think that there's every walk of life who is going through the same journey that we are. And I can attest to that because I have clients from other countries and, different backgrounds and faiths and ethnicities. And it's so funny. And I tell them this every time. You guys all tell me the same stories. It's just different people that are like the main characters in them. So I think it's just knowing that it's every person from every walk of life who's joining you in this, and that it truly is supportive, and that there's no stigma, there's no shame, there's no like, if I mess up, I still to this day, it's been almost 2.5 years, I never say I'm never going to drink again because I don't have a crystal ball. If you ask me today, I don't want to still, but I think it's just removing the pressure of trying to be perfect, because that's not what it's all about. It's about getting real with yourself and really building bonds with people who are on the same path that you are, and feeling support, I think, is the main thing. And that you're worth investing in, I think, is the other thing too. I think a lot of times we get so caught up with just like life and family and all that kind of stuff that we get put on the back burner, but like we matter, and you can't pour from an empty cup is so huge.
Mhm. Yeah, so you can't transmit something that you haven't got, and I've got to get the thing that I that I need to
Yes.
to move in that direction. And I totally agree. Like it's weird. It's like what we end up learning is how to be, and this is in my spiritual path and sobriety, and my mission is really to go into like a selfless place where I'm of
Hmm.
service to a mission that's greater than myself, to help other people to get outside of myself. But at the same time, it also requires a degree of selfishness, of choosing myself, of
Hmm.
continuously pouring into my cup and investing in myself and showing up. And we call it like the IRA, individual recovery account. I want to start to put, things away into that, which then lets me lead into what I like what you said is like, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do have is today. And
Hmm.
so sobriety for me is the same, like it's contingent upon just today. And I know for me, I'm like, I want to be sober for the rest of my life, and
Yes,
that's all I
same.
have is today,
Yeah.
this moment. And so if in this day what I decide to do is to fill my cup, is to be open to a new path. And then if you're already on this path, is like to continually be willing to give that to another person and to serve your gifts that divine God, whatever you want to call it, has given you. And it's like, we get to show up and do hair, we get to show up and be on a podcast, I get to show up, and whatever that rendition of your life that looks to you, to be able to show up and is beautiful. And so I really love what you're sharing about all of that, which really speaks to the one day at a time. And um,
Yes.
yeah.
I think play the tape forward is another like phrase that they say a lot, especially in sobriety. And I really have attributed a lot of my success to that also is if it's been maybe a handful of times where I've felt triggered where I did want to reach for a drink. And I really did just like sit with my eyes closed and played the tape forward. And I'm like, what would I feel like 20 minutes from now after I, basically just bailed on I self-abandoned myself and drank the glass of wine to escape what I'm feeling. And the feeling passes so quickly. So I think just playing the tape forward and knowing that like I'm committed to just what I've, decided is the best fit for me and sticking with it too is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, playing the tape through, like seeing all of the crap that we had to deal with
Yes.
previously,
Right.
and getting really honest with ourselves, which is like I love. There's some of the other tools I really love is like pause, pray, proceed.
Yep.
Interrupt the pattern. Pause, envision what all is going to happen with that, right? And then also
Right.
pause, pray, and pick up the phone or get into a community conversation. Message me, message Lauren, get into the community, talk, ask for help. That's where
Mhm.
humility comes in, because it's scary to ask for help in a time of need, but that's what humility is. That's allowing us to humble that part of me that wants to control, ego, edging out the love and pulling back the need to try and fix it with the old ways, right? So it's like, yeah, implementing these new tools and just knowing, just for today, today I don't have to pick up the drink, just for today. And then
Mhm.
we replace that, and that becomes a way of living, right? It goes
Yep.
beyond just not drinking. It's a way of life. It becomes, oh, right, that way I used to react with my partner. Pause, pray, play the tape through. Because these become tools
Yep.
that don't just end up keeping you in sober, curious life, or a life that's fulfilling, but a life that truly is beneficial to everyone around you.
Yes. It's so true. You like hit the nail on the head with that.
Mm. Are we ready for rapid fire?
Yeah. I'm excited. Let's
Okay, there's
go.
just a few of them. Okay, so fill in the blank. I wish we had like music right now.
I know.
Okay.
I'm
I
excited.
so fill in the blank. I'm at my most divine when.
I'm at my most divine when I'm spending time with my family, my kids, and my husband. That's like my happy place.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. All right, one thing I'll never apologize for again is.
Choosing to stay sober because I had some people who I think weren't thrilled who I used to drink with. And I used to be like, oh, I don't know how long it's going to last for. I am unapologetically sober and I love it.
Ah, yes. Okay, success without blank isn't worth it.
Success without God,
Ooh.
honestly. Yeah.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
love
I
that.
feel like that it always roots back to that for me.
Oh, I love that. Okay, when I feel overwhelmed, I.
When I feel overwhelmed, I meditate now. I sit in silence with my eyes closed and try to get out of my own head.
I love meditation.
Yeah.
If I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be, and also specify the age of the self.
Oh, if I could tell my younger self, probably ages 17 to 21, you are so much better than the drunk girl at the bar. You are so much better than her, and this is not your future. Just
Mm,
keep going.
oh my gosh. Now I want to know, what does that 17 to 21-year-old have to say in response?
Oh, yeah, right. This is it. You're always going to be a mess and not good enough and sloppy. And I would just tell her, like, you have no idea. And you're smart and you're beautiful and you are worthy of all good things.
Mm, I love that. Okay, healing feels like.
Healing feels like, I think like a hug, like just like feeling like secure, like just feeling like you want to give yourself the biggest hug.
Mm, I love that. I just felt that. I was like, oh, give yourself a hug if you're
I
not
know. We deserve it.
ready. Oh, everybody give yourself a hug. Oh, I'm so loving that right now.
You
And
too.
then as we're hugging ourselves, I'm most proud of.
I'm most proud of my sobriety.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah, I feel like aside from my children, they're my greatest accomplishment, but my sobriety leads me to being a better mom and everything for them. So it boils back down to that.
Mm, I love that. And God is.
Abundant.
Mm, and motherhood is.
Oh, that's a good one. Motherhood is a journey. It's a beautiful journey of becoming, and you're never finished.
Oh my gosh. That made me want to cry. Okay, the sexiest thing about being sober is.
Um, my confidence. I feel like my confidence came back, like just being confident in myself.
Mm, yes. I have to say, like, I did not have a voice. Like when I was sober, it doesn't mean that I didn't have, like, I was going through some of my journals and I had some really profound statements and really beautiful things that came through when I was drinking and drugging, and I've made tons of music, like produced, like songs. Like I
Aw,
have so many songs and they're really cool. And sometimes I'm like, I made this,
that's awesome.
which is really cool. And so it doesn't mean that I didn't have a message or I didn't have some really profound insights. But what I didn't have was this feeling like I could be in my own skin
Yes.
and then being in my own skin around other people.
Yes. That's so huge. That's like mic drop, I feel like.
Mm.
Like, definitely. Yeah. I think it's just, I don't know, because when I would drink, it was like Russian roulette. Sometimes you would get the fun version, sometimes you would get the sad or the mad, or it was honestly like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde towards the end of it. And I think just figuring out like who I was again was so huge and being comfortable in my own skin. I mean, it's like life changing.
It is life changing.
Hmm.
Uh, I just feel that like we really just encapsulated so much in this conversation from, really one day at a time, being like leaving us with this sense of you get to return to yourself and who you really
Yes.
are and feel good about who that is and show up and in confidence and to be able to build businesses and to grow the business that maybe you've already built, to not have to wait. And I think one important thing for people who are on the curious part or not off the fence yet is you don't have to wait for all the yets to happen. Like, oh, well, I haven't yet lost the house or yet, to make a new decision. Like you were like, I have the husband, I have the house, I have the kids, I have the business. But it's like none of that was the deciding factor. It was how you felt,
That
and
was
that.
the main thing. And it's like, you can't, it's just not sustainable to live like that. And like, we deserve as humans to feel good about ourselves and not have this like self destructive inner dialogue. So do it before. You don't need the traditional rock bottom. Do it because you deserve better and like you deserve it for yourself.
Yes, it's like an elevator. You do not have to take it all the way down into the basement.
Yes, it's so true. Yes, 100%. I agree.
Get off at the lobby, like go.
Yeah, there's a whole world out there. Go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what's one action that you would say for anyone right now to take that could, and this could be for anyone, like whether they're sober curious or they're sober serious, they're alcohol free, like what's one action that you would give them to do right now? Like go, like don't walk, run, go do this right now.
Um, Not to like plug us, but follow both of our communities because we offer just so much like guidance and support and relatability and love for everyone. So follow people who are on the same path that you're on and reach out, ask for help. If you are having a bad day or you're struggling, phone a friend, text, DM, whatever you need to do. Just reach out because there's so many people who are cheering you on that you probably haven't even met yet is the craziest part.
Mm.
So just take action. Don't sit with it.
Don't sit with it. Yes, I love this. Yes, go reach out, plug into community. I love this. And which leads me to the next best thing, which is telling us where can they find you, what offers, what experiences do you have coming up that you want to welcome the audience with.
Yeah, you can reach out. My Instagram is Low Welch. And then I just launched my first offering, which is the Sober Curious community. It's honestly like so near and dear to my heart. And it's everything that I needed in early sobriety that I realized I was searching for with all these different avenues. And it has a community that you will enter once you're a member. And it's a 30-day self-guided course for women who want to rebuild their relationship with alcohol and step into the best version of themselves. And there's lots of journaling exercises and videos that correspond. And yeah, I'm really proud of it and myself. And I just hope that it helps people because it's changed my entire life. So,
And no one can deliver it just the way that you can, because it's like you have all of this different experience and background, and so it's infused in there. That's what makes it unique, that's what makes it you, that's what makes it like nothing else, right? Is when we get to have your signature on it and then get to experience it through that course. So who is the course like really good for? Who's the match?
so it's for women, it's marketed for women. And that was actually a question I was asked, and my therapist was like, "Well, who did you build this for?" And I was like, "I built it for me." And she's like, "Well, who are you?" And I was like, "I'm a woman who doesn't label herself out as an alcoholic. She doesn't love her relationship with alcohol. She's had that voice in the back of her head, knowing that she's meant for more, that this isn't serving her, but she's scared to do it, and she doesn't have a system or community to follow, and she wants to know the why. Like, why am I doing this?" We deep dive into like, what does alcohol physically do to us, and you learn the science behind it as well. So it's for any woman who's sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're just ready to, like, basically rewrite their own narrative with it.
Ah, run, don't walk. Go get it. Sign up. Follow
You're
us.
so
Let's go
sweet.
find her. This is it. This is destiny is shaped in the moments of decision. So you've got plenty of decisions today. We want to thank you so much for coming here, dosing us with your magic and your mamahood and your mega business ownership. Like, thank you so much for showing up today. Thank you for playing full out. And thank you for divinely dosing us. This
Thank
has
you
been
for having me.
Yes, this has been a wonderful episode, and we want to thank Lo. All of her details will be in the show notes today. And as the outro, if this conversation lit something up in you, welcome to the movement. Divine Dose isn't just a podcast, it's a full blown, sober, spiritual, and sensational revolution. And guess what? We're taking it even further with the Divine Dose Virtual Summit, where you can find speakers like Lauren come on and talk through a 3-day virtual experience. Yep, that's global entry, a gathering for rebels with a cause, spiritual misfits, and embodied leaders and faith-fueled creatives redefining what it means to live a life beyond your drunken dreams. It's happening this October, and you do not want to miss it. Grab your free pre-sale or your pre-sale ticket or VIP pass now with bonuses that end in August. All links for the show notes, Lauren's course, and more. Find it, deliver it, and take massive action. Until next time, stay dosed, stay divine, and don't settle for fine. Mwah.